Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Today we will present our topic about qualitative research method. Before we go to the material, let me introduce myself and my partner. My name is Eli Pesantri and my partner is Rosa Ekolandari and Angelina Siboro. We are from group 5. For the first material will be delivered by Rosa Ekolandari.
I'm Rosa Ekalandari. In this chance, I would like to explain you about qualitative research. Qualitative research is a process of naturalistic inquiry that seeks an in-depth understanding of social phenomena within their natural setting. In focus part, in understanding a research query as a humanistic or idealistic approach. In research problem formulation, the first and most important step of a research is formulation of research problem. So the problem identification and formulation is very crucial for the researcher before conducting a research. In population and sample part, a complete set of elements that possess some common characteristic defined by the sampling criteria established by the researcher. In qualitative research, only a sample of a population is selected for any given study. That is the explanation from me. Thank you.
Okay, I will explain the next material. The next material is sampling technique. Qualitative researchers typically make sampling choices that enable them to deepen understanding of whatever phenomenon it is that they are studying. Here I will explain the strategies that qualitative researchers usually use when sampling, namely non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling refers to sampling techniques for which persons or events or researchers focus. Likelihood of being selected for membership in the sample is unknown. That said, the fact that non-probability samples do not represent a large population does not mean that they are done arbitrarily or without any specific purpose in mind. And the next is non-probability sampling types. Non-probability sampling have four types. The first is purposive sampling. Purposive sampling is often used when one's goal is to include participants who represent a broad range of perspectives. Purposive sampling may also be used when a researcher wishes to include only people who meet very narrow of specific criteria. The second is snowball sampling. Snowball sampling is especially useful strategy when a researcher wishes to study some stigmatized growth or behavior. Snowball sampling is sometimes referred to as chance referral sampling. The next is quota sampling. Quota sampling is another non-probability sampling strategy. And the last is confession sampling. Confession sampling is another non-probability sampling strategy that is employed by qualitative and quantitative research.
Thank you for this opportunity. I am Angelina Siboro. I will continue our presentation. The material is about instrument and gathering data technique and also the example in thesis and journals. Instrument of qualitative method. One of the key aims in experimental research is to find out whether an independent variable can lead to change, improvement, or degradation in another variable. We can achieve this aim by systematically comparing two or more situations in which the independent variable is manipulated to vary. For example, a first group receive explicit feedback, while a second group receive implicit feedback, but a third group not receive any form of feedback. Data are needed to answer a research question or hypothesis. In the example, we need to measure a student academic writing performance. So we must consider what data we need. We have to understand the connection between research construct, research data, and measurement and data analysis. So what is instrument? What is definition of data? Instrument is a tool that are required to get information. Instrument refer to the tools of means by which investigator attempt to measure variable or item of interest in the data collection process. Based on Arikuntor revealed that instrument in collecting data is a tool that is used by research to help them in collecting data in order to make it more systematic and easy. And also by Sugiono state that in the qualitative method research, the instrument is the research themselves. Hence, the research should be validated by themselves about their ability in conducting research. So what is data? Data is information that has been collected by conducting research. To get the reliable data, the research has to some technique for collecting data. Data collecting technique is an important step in research because the aim of the research is to get data. Collecting data can be done in anything process, in anything setting, any source, and any ways. There are 5 data collecting techniques. Those are observation, interview, questionnaire, documentation, and triangulation. In qualitative research, collecting data mostly is done in participant observation, depth interview, and documentation. By Sugiono state that the fundamental method relied on by qualitative research for gathering information is participant in the setting, direct observation, interviewing, and documentation review. In this research, the researcher used interview support by questionnaire and documentation. What is interview, questionnaire, and documentation? Interview is activity that involves interviewer and interview where the interviewer will give some question to be answered by interviewee. The interviewer has to conduct collecting data with doing interaction or communication directly, but it can be conducted face to face or through via electronic. To collecting data of interview, the researcher makes some produce. Those are preparing the concept of question that want to be asked to subject, and also the researchers should make transcript of the result of the interview. And the second is questionnaire. Questionnaire is the list of questions or statements that are given to participants. In this research, the researchers make 15 items, stage statement relate to belief in vocabulary learning strategy is the example. So questionnaire can collect qualitative and quantitative or both method. Whereas inventories are usually qualitative research. The last is documentation. A valued source of information in qualitative research can be documentation. So units state that documentation can be written and fixed by someone that can be used to obtain information. In conducting documentation, the researcher can provide magazine, books, documents, etc. The function of documentation method is to make credible the result of observation or interview. In this research, documentation guide is subject's grade transcript. We have known that instrument must valid and reliable. Validation is related to the steps taken by researchers to make sure that a measure to be used will likely be valid and that proper inferences can be made about the construct of interest on the, the data. Validity is the development of sound evidence to demonstrate that the test interpretation match is a purpose use. Reliability means the score from instrument are stable and consistent. Scores should be nearly the same when researchers administer the instrument multiple times at different times. Also, score need to be consistent. When individual answer certain question one way, the individual should consistently answer closely related question in the same way. And the last material will be explained by me is example in this journal or thesis. I have provided to you one title of journal and one title of thesis. That is like you see in the PPT as the title is A Study of Students' Difficulties in Learning Vocabulary by Rohmatilla Institute Agama Islam Negeri IAIN Raden Intan Lampung. That this is I provide to you the abstract of this journal. Said that she use qualitative research by questionnaire and interview. I have provided you the last example in thesis. The researcher has proposed to improve the student vocabulary mastery at 8th grade of MTS. The researcher used technique of analyzing data of the study was applied by using qualitative and quantitative. The qualitative data were taken from observation, diary note, interview, and documentation. That's all for me. Thank you very much for your attention and see you.